Hi there, Crafts and Create Club. Welcome back to this month's box. We're so excited to have you guys. We're going to be doing a box all about Easter this month. So before we look at what's inside, there are two things you're going to need from home. An oven, so you want some adult supervision, and then some scissors. All right, let's see what's in the box. All right, guys, we've got our box open. Let's see what's inside. First, we have our instruction booklet, and then we have our book of bonus activities. We've got two templates here that we're going to use for some of our projects. And then the first thing we want to try to find is this little tiny needle. It's sharp, so we want to be careful and find that first so we can set it aside. Then we have two Easter eggs, a bottle of glue, these little tiny beads that are called seed beads, a package of stuffing, we've got one paintbrush, a little spool of thread, 3 packs of oven baked clay, and then lastly we've got some felt, 2 small pieces, 1 medium piece, and then 2 big pieces. We're so excited to get started. So let's get into it.
To start with our first project, you're going to need one of your eggs, and then you're going to need your polymer clay. We're going to create some holders for our eggs. In our next project, we're going to dress our eggs up really fancy, but these holders are going to be perfect to where you can either display your dressed up eggs, or if you decide to do egg coloring for Easter this year, this is going to be the perfect way to display them. I'm going to show you 2 ways to create some really cute little holders for your eggs. First, what we're going to do is we're going to make a little mini cup for our egg. So you've got 3 different colors of polymer clay. What we're going to do, you don't need all of it for this one. I'm actually going to use just a small amount of my pink. I'm going to mix all 3, or I take that back. I'm going to mix pink and green. What we have to do now is we're going to work the clay a little bit, and we want to make almost like a big long spaghetti noodle, probably about 18 inches long total. So if you're using one color, you're going to need a little bit more. If you're using 2 colors like I am, then you could make it a little bit shorter, but you're going to have to make 2 of them. I find that if you use the palm of your hand instead of the fingers, then it turns into more of an even noodle. All right, so there's my green one, and then I'm going to take my pink one, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. You want your noodles to be thinner than a pencil, not quite as thin as a spaghetti noodle, but if you want to play with your polymer clay and try out some different sizes, you absolutely can do that. They're about the same size right now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to braid them together because I want kind of a little swirl. Then I'm going to just do the same thing, but I'm going to smush them together so it looks like a pink and green snake. Then this is where you're going to actually use your egg a little bit, because what we're doing is we're just going to make a little spiral cup holder to hold our egg. So what you'll do is you'll start at the end, and then you're just going to make a small little circle. That's the bottom of our cup, and then we're going to move up and just put the edge, we're going to actually put it up on the top but on the edge so that the circle gets wider. So that's what it looks like from the side. But what you're going to use your egg for is you just want to make sure that the egg will fit in there so that when you're folding it, when you're displaying your egg later, that it will actually fold up nice. And while it's still wet right now, and moist, then we can work with it. So you can make it a little bit wider if you need to. Put the wide end of your egg down in it so it sits up nice. And something happens where you decide that you don't like the way that it turned out, then you can definitely unroll it and start over. What you're going to do now is you're going to take your cup. You have enough to make another one, so no problems there. Or I'm going to now take all 3 colors here, and I'm going to make a little plate. So that was our cup. Now we're going to do a little plate. So you need to get the clay working just like we did in the first one. Same thing, we're going to make big spaghetti noodles. I want you to definitely experiment and play and see what you like in terms of patterns and You could have done, you didn't have to put the pink and the green together like I did. You can do 2 different rows separate where they're separated completely. Or this one is the dish. So if you don't want to smush them together, you'll see what I'm going to do here in a second. You don't have to. I'm putting all 3 colors together. You'll have 3 different colors in your box. Okay, so now I have three different spaghetti noodles, 3 different colors. And we're just going to make a little dish to display our eggs on. So I'm going to start with the white, and all we're going to do is we're just going to take the spaghetti noodles and we're just going to kind of twist them up, and then we're just going to press it together. Now if you like the holes, you can totally keep the holes. If you don't like the holes, you can smush together your clay a little bit. Now if you want to make sure it's nice and flat, just use the palm of your hand. I'm going to actually take mine. Now see, with this one we can display our eggs, kind of like that. So I think mine needs to be just a little bit bigger. And if it sticks up like this, if you want to make it have a little lip, you can do that too. Put little curls in it. It almost looks like flower petals. You can do that also. Play with your clay. Come up with your own little design, and then make sure that your eggs fit. All right, once you're done making either your cup or your little dish, or both, whichever you decide, then we have to put it into the oven. So like I said, before you decide to do that, if you're doing the cup, make sure that your egg fits in the cup. And also, if you're doing the dish, make sure that you have enough room for your eggs to sit in the dish. All right. While it's still soft and pliable, then you can work with it. What you're going to do next, make sure that you have a parent help you with this. You are going to take your clay and you're going to put it on a piece of aluminum foil and on a cookie sheet. Put it in your oven at 250 degrees for 30 minutes. So very low temperature for 30 minutes. Everybody's oven's a little bit different, so have an adult keep an eye on it for you so that you know what we want it to be nice and hard, but you don't want it to burn. So 250 degrees for right about 30 minutes. You might need a little bit more and you might need a little bit less. Have an adult help you with this. Once it's all done, it'll come out nice and hard, and then it will be perfect to display your pretty Easter eggs. All right, have fun with this one. Now we're ready to start working on the egg project for our Easter box. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your plastic egg, and you have got a couple of these in your box. So you'll need your eggs to work on this project. You're also going to need some of your beads. I put mine in a clear glass bowl just so that you can see them easily, and it's just easier for me to pick them out and work with them. You're also going to need your Mod Podge, so make sure you get your bottle of Mod Podge, and you're going to use this, and then you're going to also need your little blue brush too. So what we're going to do is, first off, what we're going to do is we're going to actually glue only half of the egg so far, because we want to make sure that it just slips out of your hand really easily. So we're going to cover the entire egg with beads, but we're only going to do half of it first. We're going to paint half of it, cover it with beads, let it dry, and then come back and then do the other half. Now the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to actually paint the rim, okay? So the inside, so that when your egg clips together, that it actually stays, because sometimes these eggs won't stay and we want to go ahead and glue it so that it will. All right, so take your paintbrush and just start by putting some glue right around the edge. You don't need a whole bunch of glue for this part. Go ahead and close that up. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the bottom half, so the shorter half, the fatter end of the egg, so that we can go ahead and seal that, the actual opening too, while we're working with this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it on this side. You might get a little bit of glue on your hands, but that's totally okay. Cover it with glue. All right, so now I have a nice layer on there. Okay, it's not super goopy, but it's not super thin either. So we've got a nice layer for us to go ahead and put the beads on. So next thing we're going to do is we're just going to take the beads right from however you're holding them. Like I said, I'm putting mine in a little dish. And I just want you to sprinkle it around like that. If you're using a paper plate to put your Mod Podge in, this actually helps to catch the beads. little less of a mess. And there's some nice sparkly eggs after this is all done. Yeah, I dropped mine. If you have a couple, like I have a little bald spot right there on mine, you can go back in and dab in a little bit right there. And it might stick to your brush, but that's okay. So you will see a little bit of the color of the egg on the outside of or through the beads, and that's okay. Make sure we want to pick colors of the eggs that are going to go good with these beads. So you have a couple different colors of beads in your box, but go ahead and pick whatever you want to either contrast or complement the colors of the beads with the egg. So go ahead and set this on the plate. You can just leave it just like that. It's not going to hurt it. And then let that dry. It's going to need about an hour to dry. So once it's dry, you'll see it will be clear. You may want to go back and actually put a second coat on and add some more beads. I have another one right here that I did. This one, actually, I did go back and I put a second layer just because I wanted it super sparkly. So you don't have to, you can do that if you want to. But now this one is ready so that we can go ahead and we can put another layer on. Now I made a mess, as you can see. So I'm going to clean off my mess just a little bit. I'm going to make a little bit of an area so that I can put a little bit more Mod Podge. Like I said, you don't need a lot. So don't worry about putting a whole bunch on. Go ahead now and cover the other half of your egg with glue. It's much easier to hold at this point. It's not slipping out of your hands. I've got glue all over mine, and I'm going to actually scoop some of these up that I already have on my plate and use those. You can also dump them back into your bowl. Might be a little bit easier to grab. Same thing as before. If you have a couple spots that have some, just some bare spots, you can tap some glue in there and then fill it in. Okay, so here we go. So this is our final egg. Now we're going to need to let this dry also. It's going to take about an hour, just like the last time. And then the last thing that I would suggest is go ahead after it dries and then do one more layer of Mod Podge all over the entire egg, all over these beads. You are not going to see it because it's going to dry clear, but what it's going to do is going to keep them from popping out of the egg, so that you don't end up losing some of the eggs as Easter goes on, or if they get moved around and stuff like that. But aren't these pretty? All right, guys, and I have my blue one here that's going to dry, and then I'm going to finish up my blue one, so I'm going to have a pink one that's sparkling through and a blue one that's sparkling through. All right, guys, so have fun with this project. I definitely want to see pictures of these pretty eggs that you guys have. Alrighty, now we're going to get started on our last project. This one we're going to make a stuffed felt bunny sitting inside of a carrot. So in your box you have your templates, so you're going to need your templates right now. You're going to need your stuffing. You're going to need all of your pieces of felt. You're going to need your embroidery thread, your needle. Be very careful, it's sharp. You're going to need your little Google eyes. You're going to need your paintbrush, and you're going to need your glue. All right. You'll also need to work on this project. You're also going to need a pair of scissors and a pen. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut out the template, because we're going to use the template to draw on our pieces of felt to create the carrot and the bunny. So start by cutting it out. All right, so now I have my carrot. So this piece is going to be the large carrot. This one's going to sit in front of it. These are both going to be orange pieces. And then this is going to be our topper, so the tops of your carrots, and this is going to be green. So we'll start with the carrot. Go ahead and take your pen and just outline your template on your felt. Once you've got it drawn, then go ahead and cut it out, just like you did the template. All right, so do your best to make sure that there's not any of the ink showing. I've got a little bit on here, so I'm going to trim it off a little bit. And then also, if you've got a few jagged edges and stuff, go ahead and just trim them, make them nice and smooth. So here's where we're at right now. Okay, so we're going to put the small piece on top of the big piece, just like that. We're going to get our needle, and I'm going to show you how to thread your needle. You're going to do a little bit of sewing today. I'm going to show you how to stitch this, and then I'm going to show you how to add the topper on there too. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew a little bit of we're going to sew the carrot first. Then we're going to move to the bunny after the carrot. So grab your embroidery thread and then grab your needle. Now you're going to need to kind of twist up the thread just a little bit at the end if it's got some frayed edges. You may need to even cut it just to get you a nice clean cut, and then you're going to thread the needle. So you're going to put the thread through the little eye of the needle, and you're going to double string it. Cut yourself about 24 inches, and then what you're going to do is you're going to make a little knot at the very end. So that's going to keep the thread from coming through the fabric while we're sewing. So to do that, if you take it and you just wrap it around your finger, you're going to make a little loop, a little circle, just like that. And then you're going to take the two end pieces and you're just going to stick it right through the hole of that loop. And then pull it tight, and then you have a little knot right there. Trim it off. Don't cut the knot. And now you're ready to start sewing the actual carrot. So you can start in the back if you want to, or you can start on the inside right here. And that's just gonna hide the knot, basically. So if you start there, we're about a 1/4 inch from the edge. Okay, so if you see that, we're just gonna stick it through. Put that other piece on top of it to kind of hide it. And then I'm going to come right above it here. So I'm going to start right at the very corner, the top corner of the felt. And come through. Then you're going to make a little, go about, I don't know, 1/2 inch or so. And stick your needle through. Don't go super tight because it will bunch up on you. You can flip it over if you need to, and you're going to go another inch. Stay about a 1/4 inch from the side. And then continue all the way around till you get to here. All right, so now we did all of this all the way around. We're at the very end. Now we need to put a knot in it. So we need to make sure that it doesn't unravel on us. So what we're going to do is we're going to come through and make one more stitch from the top. We're going to come through the bottom. And then we're just going to stick the needle under the previous loop. So right there under the previous loop, come back around, go back through the little loop that we just created, and we're going to make a little knot, just like that. All right, so one part is done. Now, so we've got a nice little pocket in there for our bunny when we do our bunny next. And now we're going to add our greenery. So we have our little top, our little topper. Get another piece of embroidery thread now. You don't need as much because you're just going to do this short little amount, thread it the same way. All right, now you only need about maybe 9 inches or so. Same thing, wrap it around your index finger. And then what I actually like to do is I just kind of roll it right along my finger, and it just pops that piece right through so that I can tie my knot. As you get better and you practice more, it'll become really easy. Trim it off just like we did, and we're going to start right from the inside right here, just like we did earlier. We were trying to hide the knot, and then I'm going to lay my green over it, and then we're going to come back through the back. And coming back just a little bit to come back to the edge. Remember, not very tight because you don't want it to bunch. Do my last stitch near the end, and then I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing. I'm going to go back through the previous stitch, and then I'm going to come around and go right through the hole, just like that. This one was a little bit further than the one that we had done on the bottom of the carrot, so I'm actually going to do that one more time to just secure my knot. Trim it off, and our carrot is ready. Now all we have to do is make our bunny. All right, now we're going to work on the bunny. So you've got your template for the bunny. We're going to cut everything out just like we did in the first for the carrot. You do not need to cut out the black strips and the little triangle if you can make your own black strips yourself without the template. This is just here for a guide if you need it, but if you can make your own strips, you don't have to. All of these little black strips, what they are is they're going to be the whiskers on the bunny's, coming out of the bunny's nose, and then the orange is going to be the bunny's nose. So you'll need a little, you're going to take a little bit of your orange and make a little triangle cut if you think you can without the triangle. Completely up to you. After you cut out the bunny, then go ahead and cut out the ears, the white and the pink. For your nose and your whiskers, you can just go ahead and freehand it. I'm going to freehand the nose because just from our carrot, I have a little extra piece right here that's just the edge that I can easily make into a triangle. The little black piece, you cut 3 strips small and then cut each strip in half. I'm going to trace my 2 little pink pieces that go on the insides of the ear. Now I'm going to do my bunny. I need to actually make two of these because we're going to sew them together. You have plenty of felt. All right, so I'm going to cut out these. All right, now we have all of our pieces. So we have our bunny body. We're going to put the 2 pieces together to start sewing those. And then we have our ears, and then the insides of our ears. It's going to look like that when it's done. And then we have our little whiskers and our nose. So now we're ready to get started sewing. Gather your needle just like we did before. You're going to thread the needle with your embroidery thread. Make this piece pretty long, maybe 2 or 3 feet. And you're going to end up knotting it just like we did last time. So wrap it around your index finger, make that little loop and stick it through, and then pull the knot. Trim off the excess. Now when we work on the bunny, what we're going to do, because we're going to use the bottom here, this little part in the bottom, we're going to leave that open right now. So we're going to start on the side of the bunny, and then we're going to stitch around and then come to the bottom. And then we're going to use the opening in the bottom to stuff our filler in. Okay, Well, when we get up to the top, we're actually going to stick our little ears in so we can sew right through those first. So you're going to start on the side, just like before. Remember, we stuck it through in the middle, hide our knot, then pinch it back together. Now with a much longer piece of thread, it can get knotted easily. So just be really careful when you're threading so you're not making a big mess out of your thread. Okay, now we're at the top. So we're at near the top. So we're going to stick one of our ears right in between the two pieces. Just a little bit, just enough that we can grab with the thread, okay? So right about there. Then we're going to go right through the top, secure that ear in place. Do the same thing, make sure you go right through the ear on the bottom too. Okay, now we've done about 2 stitches, and then we're going to put the other ear in now. And then continue down the body. Okay, once you get to here, so I'm all the way at the bottom, and I still have about maybe 3 inches here, and there's a little hole right there. Now what we're going to do, just let your needle hang, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to stuff the bunny now with the stuffing. Alright, so just take little pieces, little chunks of fabric, because you don't want to jam in a huge chunk. So just push it up there, then grab another little piece. Okay, once you've got it almost all the way full, you're not going to come all the way to the edge because we still have to sew it together. But you want to give yourself, you still want to give yourself that about 1/4 inch from the edge. So there's where our thread is at. We have enough room there so we can still sew it. So then go ahead and continue sewing. It's going to be a little harder. You're going to have to pinch these edges together as you're sewing now because we've stuffed it. Okay, so when I get to the last stitch, I'm going to go back through to the bottom. And then just like we did before, in the back, I'm going to go through, put my needle under the previous stitch, and then stick my needle back through the big loop to knot it. And I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, so here's where we're at right now. So our little bunny's nice and stuffed. He's sewn all the way around, and then we've got his ear sticking up. So now we're going to take and we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue on the other pieces. So this is where you're going to need your little paintbrush, and then get your glue, spread it out on a plate or something for you. We're going to start with our little ears and just paint on the back of it. Don't use a whole bunch. You don't need a whole bunch. Now we're going to take our little eyeballs, our little Google eyes that we've got, and we're going to put the eyeballs in here. So now these do have some self-stick backs, so you can pull them off. I would actually still go ahead and just dab a tiny bit of glue on it with your brush, because sometimes these don't have the best stickies. Okay, now we have our eyes. Now it's time for the nose. Check to make sure that your strips look okay. They might be a little bit too long, depending on where your stitches ended up. Yeah, mine are a tiny bit too long, so I'm actually going to trim them a little. Okay, so I've trimmed all mine down now, so now I'm going to go ahead and glue the backs of all of them and then stick them on. Your sizes are going to be different depending on how close to the edges of the bunny that you did your stitches. I've got my little whiskers on my bunny. Everything is ready, done, and now we can put our bunny inside of our little carrot in his little sleeping bag. There you go. Alrighty, you guys, I hope you had a great time doing this month's box. This was all about Easter. I hope you have a very happy Easter. Please send us your pictures. We can't wait to see what you created. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.